14 is the last chance for a bunch sprint before the Tour hits the Alps tomorrow. And who knows, we may well see Tour Hushovd and Mark Cavendish out sprinting for intermediate points on the road again today. It's that tight, the race for the green jersey. The question is, how?
Hushovd is a difficult one to manage. We see a number of days ago he goes in the attack, picks up some points on the road. He's also a rider who can get over the mountains quite well, and he's really giving it more than 100% to get through the mountains. And we see he's taken the jersey from Cavendish, lost it, taken it back again. So it's becoming a big battle, and he's going to be a problem. We said in the beginning all the way to Paris, I think it will be, and it's certainly looking that way now.
He's right, it is looking that way. There it is, 199 kilometres on top of the 2,175 race so far. And it takes the race south to set it up for entry into the Alps tomorrow. It's the sprints we're interested in today, though, and there are two early in the stage at 34 and 67 kilometres. Then a pair of third category climbs and a third intermediate sprint inside the final 40k before the race heads through the fortified centre of Besancon, a World Heritage Site, to finish 5 kilometres or so outside. There was an early 14-man break on today's stage that briefly contained Mark Cavendish. He quickly thought better of it, though, and sat up to wait for the main field. Jens Voigt followed him out the back of the break too because of a puncture, and with no team car in between the break and the peloton, he had to make do with a wheel change from the neutral service vehicle, which he wasn't too happy about.
Allez, à côté de moi!
And he was even less happy to have a camera bike on hand to record it all.
Can you just leave me alone now? I'm really unhappy with that, okay? Can you just leave me alone here?
Bad luck for Jens. He eventually acknowledged the inevitable and got swallowed up by the main field. Now, Christophe Moreau lives in this part of France, and in accordance with Tour tradition, he was allowed to ride away at the front so that he could stop and say hello to his wife and daughter. Then the chase was back on, or rather lack of chase, because the break had a very particular makeup. There were sprinters in it, men like Daniele Benatti of Liquigas and Gerald Cholik of Milram, so their teams wouldn't cooperate with the chase. And Colombia also had George Hincapie in it. He probably joined it just to keep an eye on it, but since he was the highest placed rider in there, 5 minutes 25 down in the classification, he suddenly found himself a threat to take the yellow jersey by default. Perhaps realising that, Astana, one of the few teams without a rider in the break, decided they'd better chase to keep the gap to manageable proportions.
Well, there's a move now coming from Christophe Lemavelle. He's also now seen this little climb on the outskirts of Besançon as a possibility, and Hincapie is not letting anybody go clear this afternoon. Hincapie now takes up the chase, and I wonder if that's to think whether or not he can get himself a stage victory. Hincapie crosses the gap to the Frenchman quite easily.
6 minutes and 26 seconds. The two riders on the attack would be first and second overall if that was the gap tonight, and George Hincapie and Christophe know that. So they're going to work together here, and they're not working for the stage when they are working just to win time. They're being joined by Daniele Benatti, and the rest may get back on this occasion. There goes another one, and it looks like it's Nicholas Roach who's gone. Now that's an interesting move because his team are trying to catch up.
And I'm pretty sure that Dad Stephen Roach is probably on the edge of his seat now, looking at his son going off the front end of a stage of the Tour de France.
So the Roach dynasty continues. Stephen himself started his tour in 1983, won it in 1987, and on the way he picked up 3 stage wins, and it would be lovely if his son managed to make one in Besançon.
Well, Benatti has nailed him back, and he dug very deep there to pull it all back together. He knows that he's got a great chance of victory. Watch out though for the man sitting at the back there from Team Milram, Gerard Cholik. He's got a good chance also if they stay together, but you can see these attacks are because not a lot of riders are very confident.
6:23. It actually Ivanov's gone again, and this is absolutely the tactic of the Russian rider. He rides alone whenever he gets a chance. There's the mistake. They're all watching. He's waited till they've had a little flurry of attacks. Now they're all out of breath. He's launched an incredible attack here, and they're all hesitating. Sergei Ivanov is free to fly right now. Well, we are in the streets of Besançon now, remember, because we go through the town centre. Listen to the crowd here. A Saturday in this city, cheering the Tour de France all the way across the city centre. This is a beautiful city. There's the clock on the right. It's famous for the clocks made here in France. And the time, was it the right time?
It was spot on.
Well, you wouldn't expect it to be anything else here. And look at the whole population's turned out, and they're being treated to a grandstand finale performance by the 12 riders in the breakaway. The Russian trying to run away with it, 21 seconds. The chasers are coming, and still at 6:12 the breakaway. But remember, that clock is counting on Sergei Ivanov, so Hincapie has got to keep chasing.
Well, Hincapie has to keep chasing. Halfway across the gap there is Albert Timmer of the small skill Shimano squad, and again the accelerations, Phil, coming thick and fast. This time it comes from the rider from Cofidis, and that is Sebastian Mina. They're relayed by Daniel Rigi of Team Lampre. They're throwing caution to the wind here this afternoon, but if they don't get themselves organised, this man is going to run away with the show. He won't have the accelerations and decelerations of the group behind him. He will get locked into 47, 48 kilometres an hour and try to build on his advantage. He's still hovering at around about 20 seconds over the chasers. Royston has linked up there, Phil, with that other rider, Albert Timmer, and they are halfway across the gap.
A little bit of frustrating times here for George because they're all jumping away from him and he can't really stay with them at the moment. He's going to have to look for a different move. He's desperately close to keeping this yellow jersey or getting it. Nudged the second there, 6:28, but that is for the leader now.
Well, he has 18 seconds advantage over those two chasers, Hayden Rolston and Albert Timmer, and around about 30 going back to the rest of the group with George Hincapie, and of course with the riders like Daniele Benatti, Nicholas Roche and Gerard Cholik. They are starting to get themselves organised again.
The one-on-one, they've got two lines going anyway, but the sprinters are being left, and that's what it is normally happens. 6:35 to the peloton, take off 22 seconds. You've got 6:12 is the gap. That's still good enough for a yellow jersey for George Hincapie, but remember the peloton are more likely to pick up speed as they too will come into Besancon.
These two riders have got themselves part way across the gap, but then all of a sudden they seem to hit the wall. They couldn't go any faster. They're only 10 seconds ahead of the chasing group now of 9 men.
Well, they certainly don't look as fluid as Sergei Ivanov. Hayden Wilson having to do some strong turns now. Timmer, I think, is right on his limit. He's a young, well, they're both first-timers in the Tour de France, but Rolston a little bit the stronger of the two, I think. That chase, though, is coming in, and it's liquid gas because Benatti's the sprinter trying to get up here. If the organisers arrange this tour for a hard final week and to bring a close finish, they've got it, that's for sure. 6:33 the gap, 3 kilometres now. Sergei Ivanov, I don't think can be caught. These two boys are absolutely stuck in no man's land. That pack behind needs to reorganise quickly. Well, look at the crowds here. We turn right now as we start to go in towards the last 2 kilometres. What we've got to remember is George really should just go to the front and drive and forget what position he finishes.
Well, these two chasers still locked in at 25 seconds behind them. George Hincapie and the rest of the group of 9 riders. Hincapie hoping to try and survive. They've got a little bit of organisation still coming. It's Martin Maskant, the Dutchman on Team Garmin Slipstream, is whipping up the pacemaking at the front end of the main field. It's 38 seconds back to this group. 6:32 still back to the main field and the yellow jersey.
What it means is George is still in yellow, but the bunch are going to accelerate as they come into town. Talking of town, that's exactly where they are now. And these are the Garmin teammates driving on here. The chase has reorganised a little bit there, but George Hincapie's no choice. He's got to drive. He's going to get no help from anybody now. It's a matter of who wins the day, who gets the prize money. And if George Hincapie gets a yellow jersey, it's a big if right now, because the peloton will go quickly over these last 5 kilometres.
They will whip it up in the main field, Phil, because they've got to get their sprinters to the front, because even though the sprinters are only going for 12th position on the stage, there are still big points available. 13 points for 13th place, down to 1 point for 25th place. That is the third group on the road, led by Hincapie. Hincapie's not worried about second or third on a stage like this afternoon. He's more concerned about seconds, about the seconds that might bring him the yellow jersey for the second time in his career, as Sergei Ivanov goes inside of 1 kilometre to go, and still, Phil, he has never ever looked back over his shoulders to see if the others are coming back to him.
He is 900 metres from the line now. He's looking for his 39th win of his career. He's had 3 wins this year. This will go down as one of his best, as it will go alongside the Amstel Gold Race, which was in April this year. And Katusha is a new team here. They've had little success without Robin McEwen in the Tour de France, but now it looks as though Sergei is going to deliver the goods. He's faced a picture of pain here, but it soon will be one of joy. With a counter-attack from the pack, and it's got to go. It looks like Roach may have gone again here. And Roach is going to reach these two riders. He's going to come up behind Hayden Royalston. A little flick of the wrist there. Hayden has tried to raise it. Well, this is a brave, even if it is a very cheeky move from Nicholas Roach. His mouth wide open, but there's a big reaction from the field here.
Well, they're dragging themselves back, but they're not going to see this man again as he's inside of the last 300 or 400 metres, and he's just pumping it all the way up to the finishing line. But that attack by Roach may well give a couple of seconds to Hincapie in the group behind.
As the cars turn off, Sergei Ivanov is about to give a victory salute now. We expected him to make his move. He did exactly that. He wins the stage for Russia and for Katusha, and he's stolen the show. A long breakaway today. That's the stage winner. But who is the leader tonight? Now, Nicholas Roach beginning to fade. He's still got Hayden Royalston digging deep here for a third place. But it looks as though Nicholas Roach is going to get the performance of his life. They're coming very close on him. Remember that the clock will start for yellow, and George, an excellent second place by Roach. I think Mascant probably just beat Roulston on the line. They're not sure.
Well,
the clock is going.
We have to start the clock now. This is the man who's taken the stage glory, Phil, but now we have to wait for 5 minutes and 25 seconds from when Nicholas Roach crossed the line to see whether or not the main field are going to come in with the yellow jersey. It is going to be very close for George Hincapie here this afternoon.
So a long day's ride followed by a short, anxious wait for George Hincapie behind the podium, but not knowing whether he'd be stepping out onto it to take the yellow jersey until the main field crossed the line.
There is the Flamme Rouge. 1 minute and 10 seconds, 1 minute and 7 seconds is what they need. What may go in George Hincapie's favour is it's slightly uphill, so they won't be doing 60 kilometres now. They're probably going to do 55.
We could be talking 5 seconds one way or the other for yellow tonight. This is an incredible Tour de France this year. As they now line up, Michael Rogers is trying to deliver Tony Martin, followed by Mark Renshaw, followed by the missile himself, and locked into the back of the missile is the green jersey of Torhushoff. They're going to start the sprint. Tony Martin is trying to delay it as much as possible, waiting for the run from Leonardo Duque. Samuel Dumoulin is the man who's trying to get up in red. The others are coming out from the left here now. They're trying to give a lead out to Hushoff, and remember that Hushoff must finish 6 places behind, and that's not going to happen. As now Renshaw says, "Where are you, Mark?" He looks both sides. Now he goes. Now Cab is going to have to break off the wheel here of Mark Renshaw, and right on the inside is the green jersey of Hushoff, and that should be close enough to keep it tonight. Now he's waiting for him to go very close on the line. I think genuinely there, the green jersey had a little genuine complaint there by the way the Colombian boys delivered that sprint to the line.
My calculation, Phil, is in fact George Hincapie is going to miss out on the yellow jersey by probably 3 seconds. That was very close and sad for Hincapie, but it was his teammates there had to lead the charge to the line.
And had that charge cost George the jersey? Well, there's the stage result. Ivanov the winner ahead of Nico Roach and Hayden Roulston, but the key time, Hincapie's 16 seconds back. Remember, he needed 5:25 on the yellow jersey group, which was led in by Mark Cavendish ahead of Torhushoff. 5 minutes 36 behind the winner. 5:36 minus 16 seconds is 5:20. So George Hincapie had missed out on taking yellow by 5 seconds. His reaction tells its own story, as does that of Mr. and Mrs. Nocentini. George, though, elaborated.
Oh, I'm just extremely disappointed. You know, I don't know why Astana was riding. I think that's highly insulting to me, and I'm very disappointed in that they kept us at so close of a distance. It was just basically doing the work for AG2R, so I just can't understand it.
The result was that Rinaldo Nocentini, the Tour's least likely long-term holder of the yellow jersey, holds on for another day. George Hincapie is now second, Alberto Contador third, Lance Armstrong fourth, and Christophe Lemavelle, another member of today's breakaway, slips into fifth, with Bradley Wiggins now sixth. The time gaps to all the other big names remain the same, but everybody shuffles down as today's result ripples through. Now, as we saw, Thor Hushovd came in one place behind Mark Cavendish today and lost 1 point off his lead in the green jersey competition. At least that's how the result was given to start with. But within minutes of the stage ending, Mark Cavendish had been disqualified. And this is why. In the closing couple of 100 metres, with Thor Hushovd coming up the inside on the barriers, the commissaires ruled that Mark Cavendish had squeezed him out, denied him his racing line. Now, it's clear from Hushovd's reaction as they crossed the line that he thought Cavendish hadn't observed the rules of sprinting, and the commissaires agreed. By the time the video had been reviewed, Columbia had already set off for their hotel, so the chief commissaire, Martin Bruin, relayed the bad news to Bob Stapleton, the Columbia team boss, by phone. And once he'd done that, he explained his reasons to Matt Rendell.
Not what I believe I saw, but what we in fact saw on the television after asking the people to show us again the images. The shots were clear for us. Cavendish did not ride a good sprint. In fact, he was endangering Hushovd in the final meters, which was very, very, very bad decision of Cavendish in this way.
So it's Mark Cavendish himself, not the lead-out train, not the Columbia team, but Cavendish himself has committed an infraction of the laws.
Exactly, himself, yes. But because the lead-out went to the left and Mark closed the gap to the barriers for Hushovd.
So Mark Cavendish has been disqualified in today's sprint,
which is 100% normal.
Is correct decision?
That's a correct decision, because what he did to me, that's not fair, and we can't keep going like this. So I'm glad it happened, and I think I hope for everybody that he learned.
What did he do to you, Tor?
He tried to push me in the barriers.
And is this, you implied
that's dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Has this happened before on this tour?
Not with me, no. So, but I mean, today it's today, and that's why we put in this thing today. Yeah.
So it's a correct decision?
Yeah, that is.
Can Team Columbia appeal against your decision?
They can, but I will not accept any appeal.
So, after all that, this is how the most exciting race at the Tour looks now. Pretty grim for Mark Cavendish. He loses his place on the stage and the 13 points that went with it. So instead of being within 4 of retaking the green jersey, he's now a distant 18 points back. And not much prospect of recouping his losses tomorrow, because we're out of sprinting territory and into the Alps.